Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the HFC School Connect. I'm your host, Ramit Singh Chimni from the 8 Goes One Foundation, and it's my privilege to help initiate engaging conversations with all the wonderful guests that Hyderabad FC has lined up for this series. I must begin by thanking all of you for tuning in during this late afternoon on a wonderful Sunday. I hope all of you, like me and our guest today, have had a good lunch and are energized for a session that promises to be insightful both for our minds and our bodies. The HFC School Connect is part of a vision that Hyderabad FC has for our youth. And in this journey that they have undertaken for all of us, they have received the support of the UNESCO New Delhi Cluster Office as well as Borussia Dortmund, both of whom equally support Hyderabad FC's vision for promoting football to not only the youth of the great city of Hyderabad, but through their initiatives to youth both within and outside the state of Telangana. This is the first in a series of episodes that you will be able to catch live on Sundays on both YouTube and Facebook. So let's begin. In today's episode, we will try and understand the importance of football in the school education system and try and dig a bit deeper into how sports like football can be used not just as a form of recreation or extracurricular, but an active tool for imparting holistic education by our educators. Needless to say, that this conversation has taken on a brand new meaning in the light of the recently introduced national education policy, where sports has now finally been recognized as part of the school curriculum. Now, without much further ado, I have the enviable task of introducing our guests this evening. We have with us Mr. Juan Pablo Ramirez-Miranda, who is the head of social and human sciences at the UNESCO New Delhi Cluster Office, where, amongst other things, he promotes the development and practice of sporting activities to foster social integration in different social contexts. We have with us Dr. Jyothi Reddy, who is the founding principal of the Sri Ram Universal School. And over the years, she's held several leadership positions, including as being the principal of the Oak Ridge International School, the founding principal of the Westbury School, and more recently, as the director of education of the Delhi School of Excellence. We also have Miss Mary Shantipriya, who is the principal of Vista School, which is one of the leading K-12 institutions in Hyderabad. And she's been in the field for almost 20 plus years. And beyond the leadership roles that she holds, she's also an author, having written books on mathematics for students. Finally, our last guest with us is Mr. Subramanyam Kantheti, who is the CEO and co-founder of Premia Academy, a CBSE and IGCSE school in Hyderabad, and he's also a K-12 school startup and operational specialist with focused on education technology, education management, as well as sports and arts. So with this fantastic panel of speakers today, there is a lot of discussions that we're going to have throughout the course of this 1 hour or a little longer. But before we do that, what I'd like to do is invite each of our guests to try and give our viewers a bit of perspective of where they approach this whole theme of football and sports from, and where they're coming from in terms of their backgrounds and so on and so forth. So in the same order as I made the introductions, perhaps we could have Mr. Ramirez-Miranda start off, and we'll take things forward from there.
Thank you so much, Ramit, and thank you very much to all who are tuning in. Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, whenever you're watching this. It is my privilege to be here. Thank you for your kind introduction. First, I would like to, of course, congratulate Hyderabad Football Club for launching this series of dialogues to discuss the connection between education and sports and the importance of talking about this and bringing it to the table. Thank you, Ramit, for your always impeccable moderation too. And thank you to my fellow panelists. It's a privilege to be here with you today to have this very important conversation. I mean, for UNESCO, it's really a pleasure to partner with Hyderabad Football Club and partners to discuss this. We are the specialized agency of the United Nations for education, for social inclusion, for sciences in general, but we are also in charge of sports within the UN system. We are the secretariat of the international committee that brings together all of the authorities in the different countries of the world in charge of sports. This intergovernmental committee organizes a meeting of ministers that decides on the consensus, the international consensus on the way forward for sports policy. But particularly, as the agency in charge of education and the agency in charge of sports, we are extremely working very closely in that bridge. And that is why our presence and our support to this discussion is so relevant. As you were saying, we are right now in a context today that has two very important components to bring to the table. The first one, of course, we all know it. It's part of our everyday lives, not only because of the social distancing measures that are in place, but because it's part of our daily conversations, of the media, of everything we do, everything we breathe, everything we touch. The COVID-19 pandemic that has literally brought to us some unprecedented impacts for a lifetime. There's going to be major socioeconomic impacts that we cannot even begin to measure yet. And we are all in the midst of that. And of course, this has an impact in most aspects of our lives, and evidently also in education. One of the major impacts, at some point, billions were out of school. Now, slowly, education systems have begun to adapt and to adjust to either online delivery or reopening slowly. And of course, sports in general, grassroots sports in particular, and sports in education are deeply affected by everything related to the pandemic. So that's the first thing to consider. It's a fact. We all see it. We have all been going through that through the past months, and it's very important. And the second thing you mentioned, Ramit, we are at a historical moment in India where the new national education policy has been published, has been adopted. It's a groundbreaking document that will shape the education system, the education in the country for many, many years to come. And so this groundbreaking policy has incorporated sports into education as an integral component. And we are now heading towards the historic opportunity of how this groundbreaking policy will translate into curriculum, into the changes that the education system will begin to have in years to come. And why is this so extremely important? Because this is shaping the citizens of the country for many, many years to come, right? So in that sense, these two elements are the first two things that I wanted to consider. And as a result, what we need to keep in mind is how sports can be a tool for the development of not only responses to address the socioeconomic impacts of the pandemic that will come along, but also precisely the shaping of the citizens of tomorrow. Sports is a very powerful tool to unleash development at the individual level, but also at the community, at the societal level. And particularly, the values of sports are ever so important to bring into the table and to bring into the conversation, because values such as discipline, solidarity, leadership, all of this that has been crucial for our response during the pandemic, for the social distancing measures during lockdowns, etc. The fact that we need to be disciplined, the fact that we need to be to show solidarity, the fact that we need to work as a team. This is values that are extremely connected to sports and to our education. And football is a very good example of how this is. How this can be used as a tool to infuse those values into children. And particularly, of course, for us as an organization, gender equality is a global priority. And it is therefore one of the reasons why girls' education, and particularly the education of girls and in sports, is such an important issue also to discuss and to consider. Sports can have a very transformative power, as I was saying, for everyone, in terms of the values that are infused, in terms of the health outcomes that can come, ever more important when we speak about the comorbidities related to the pandemic, but also it can be an enabler for women's empowerment and for girls' empowerment in a long term, right? We know that education transforms the life of a girl, and sports can develop in her the leadership abilities, can develop in her the emancipation that is required to in turn have an impact on issues like reducing girl-child marriage rate or enhancing issues related to girls' empowerment that have a long and sustained impact in their lives, and therefore transform our societies to ensure women are accessing leadership positions. The same leadership that we can infuse in girls at early ages will have an impact later for them to aspire to leadership positions in their communities, in the political sphere, in all the decision-making fields. So by linking all of these dots together, I think that this first intervention allows me to position our vision for all of these issues. And I'm really looking forward to hear what my fellow panelists have to say and to engage in this dialogue with all of you watching. Thank you so much, and sorry because I took a little longer than I wanted.
No, thank you so much for that. And I think I've always been a fan of the importance that UNESCO gives to football as a tool for change. And I think everything that you spoke of, with the passion that you spoke of, that just epitomizes everything that not just you as an individual, but the entire organization, UNESCO, also looks at football. And it's fantastic to hear from all of our perspectives. With that, may I please invite Dr. Reddy now to give us her perspective on this entire theme. Dr. Reddy.
Namaste, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be a part of this panel discussion. When it is the challenging time during the pandemic, when all webinars and all discussions are around how to run academic classes actively and qualitatively in the mode of online, and how to take care of the emotional well-being of stakeholders. So all the discussions are spread across different topics which are related to challenging times in this pandemic, right? So when this topic has come to my table to consider for the panel discussion, that is football in the education, I was so excited. Immediately I said, yes, I will be a part of this discussion. So I thank Hyderabad Football Club for giving me this opportunity. As the founder principal of the Sriram Universal School, I would like to say that I'm missing the noise, I'm missing the shout outs, I'm missing the screaming of my kids in our beautiful soccer field that we have on our campus, So that also made me to say yes immediately. So I take this opportunity to congratulate Hyderabad Football Club also, as they are celebrating their first birthday on 27th August, because Hyderabad Football Club started last year, 2019. And when it is about football in education, I still remember my discussions with my team members when I was working in my previous organization, saying that why can't we teach math and physics in soccer field, right? All three laws of motion of Newton would be taught in soccer field, and math applying formulas could be taught in soccer field, right? So in this challenging times, yes, I do understand that sports have taken a backseat, but still I feel that it is just an intermission break in a movie. Because at this juncture, I would like to recollect the quote of Sunil Chhetri, who is a football player, right? Indian football player. He said overnight success of a football player in a tournament, winning the tournament, is the result of many years hard work and efforts of the players. So the success of football or the success of sportsmen or the success of any game in that way, if you see one particular academic year gap doesn't make any difference. Maybe this is the time. I understand that this corona, this COVID situation gave an opportunity to the people across the world in all the fields to take a back seat, to take a break, and think about the opportunities that are going to take front seat going forward, and how best we can handle challenging times. So even it is online classes, if we come to the point of sports, yes, we are doing, many schools are conducting PE classes, online classes in terms of sports. Yes, there is a difference, no doubt in it. The same vigor, the same quality could not be offered, but I don't think that they are taken completely a back seat. What we are doing in our school is we are concentrating over the theory part of the sports in terms of inspirational stories of sports players, right? In terms of skill sets, see, football is such a thing, anyone can play anywhere. It's a matter of open space and the ball. Now, in online classes, that's not possible, right? Still, football could be, or any other sport, basketball, cricket, the nuances of every game or could be taught to the children during online classes. As Mr. mm, Miranda has mentioned, sports is an integral part of education. I'm so happy with the advent of new education policy. What I feel is I'm so happy with the statement that sports is not an extracurricular activity. Now it is going to become the part of curriculum in education. It's a wonderful beginning to take it very seriously. So when we say holistic education, as it is a combination of knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values, all these four components are there in sports. Right? Skills are very much required. Knowledge of football game is very much required, and the attitude of a sportsman is very much required, and the values that we learn by being in sports, right, whether it is being fair or whether it is taking it in a sportsman spirit, whether it is helping the opponent also sometimes off the ground in terms of taking sharing best practices, helping the team members, taking a back seat in the best interest of winning the game. All these are value systems. All these are the attitude of sportsmen which could be nurtured, right? So in that way, I feel that sports are very, very important. And this short break of not playing in the fields is only a passing cloud. It is a temporary phase. And I'm so excited because we are having Hyderabad Football Club here. And as an educator, what I feel is schools cannot do everything. And if we want international players going forward in coming years, until and unless this is nurtured, this is taken forward right from primary years of children, we can't see international players, because sports is something, it's not overnight. It's not like civil service exam or some entrance examination that I sit for one academic year, or I sit day and night for 2 3 years, work hard and crack the exam, right? So it needs a lot of efforts, it needs a lot of practice. So that has to be nurtured right from the child when he is in primary years. So like many countries where the sports are given equal importance, or sometimes they are put at a different pedestal altogether, I hope if academies like these and schools partner with each other and take the sports into their schools right from the primary years, um, things are not going to happen that easily. So the partnership always make a difference. So as an educator, I feel that parents are expected to support the schools and academies if they see the talent in the child, and if they are interested to take it forward. And schools are the places where the hidden talent has to be brought out. Until and unless you take a child to the soccer ground or basketball court, or cricket pitch, how do you know that there is a cricketer or a soccer player or a basketball player in a child, right? So yes, we all know that sports are important, but how we take it forward, how we nurture the talent, how we groom them to meet the international standards, that is a big question before all of us. Maybe this pandemic will help us to think seriously, like how all teachers are gearing up for bringing technology into the classrooms as a full scenario, and pulling up their socks to equip themselves to handle pandemic. So I think it's time to take some time to think about how to take sports also giving its due credit. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Reddy. I think, at least I, for one, if the laws of motion were taught to me on a football field, I would have scored much, much higher in my physics exam for sure. But no, thank you so much for that. Can I invite Mrs. Shantipriya now to give us her perspective on this entire theme before we move to Mr. Kantheti and thereafter the discussions.
Good evening to all. It's indeed a proud privilege to be part of this esteemed, members of. He said not to call it as a webinar, as an open discussion. So I say thank you for inviting me. But again, as Dr. Reddy said, yes, sports is an integral part of education. So having said that, being an integral part, even in the pandemic, we shouldn't put sports aside. So, keeping that point in mind, we have always been geared up with the situation, as Reddy ma'am said rightly. The teachers are geared to take up their sessions. Overnight, they've learned how to use technology in classrooms. So have the PTs also. I was talking with Ramit the other day. I was telling him maybe sports is not happening the way it should have happened if the school was working physically. But again, having said that, every sport has got basic required skills, so which can be taught online also. So when a school goes virtual, as the schools are running virtual, sports classes or sessions are also going virtual. So when we talk about sports virtual, the first thought comes to mind is yoga classes. Yes, that is one of the activity where you can keep the children connected with a physical activity. But beyond than that, there are a couple of skills which can be trained for to a students, though the sessions are virtual. For example, like balancing, hand balancing. For example, like body movements. For example, like dribbling. All these are things which can be taught to a child even if a session is virtual. So as I was talking and I was sharing with Ramit the other day, irrespective of what the situation are, sports cannot take a backseat, because as all of us strongly believe that it is an integral part of academics. And since it's an integral part of academics, it not only helps the child to do well, it basically helps the child to get more focused. We have always strongly believed that sports is a part of a life skill, not just an activity or an extracurricular activity. Because sports generally gives a child to be more focused, to be a team player, to accept defeat, and to fight back after the defeat. It also helps them to get more disciplined. If you are a sportsman, you know how to accept a defeat, and you know how to fight back and overcome that also. It not only helps in these things, it also helps in the emotional development of a child. Basically, the emotional development of a child happens when there is a winning and losing. So when you lose, you know how to accept your loss also. So these things actually helps sports to be part of the integral system of education. So hence, though the pandemic, though unprecedented situation, we have always taken up this as a challenge to ensure that the children are given the privilege to get equipped, because this is a temporary situation. So our thought was, when we were planning for the PT sessions, today it is temporary. Tomorrow the children have to get back into the field. They need to play. So how is that we are going to put them fit enough to get back to the ground and play? So that's how we have all thought across and worked on a curriculum which would help the children, though not exactly a ground at home, but at the same time can give in all those kind of moments which are required, which will further enhance them once they come back to the school grounds. I think with this I can wind up. Thank you so much, Ramit.
Thank you, Shantipriya. I think what you just said right now is something that I think a lot of people are struggling with right now, in creating that balance. That how do you actually still inculcate sporting practices and so on and so forth during this COVID time? And perhaps we'll talk a bit more about that as we move forward. But before that, we've got Mr. Kantheti, and it'll be great if we can get your perspective also on this theme, and thereafter we proceed. So
Yeah. Hi. Thanks, Amit. Thanks for the thing. And I thank Hyderabad Football Club for bringing all of us this together for a very good initiative, which is a football. Uh, I'll just take a few steps back to give a perspective of what's sports and acads and schools, because I was fortunately being in the space of schools from last more than a decade and a half. So if I just step back and look at how, as a country, we have been looking at this space. So conventionally, we have been tuned, I should say, when we were young, to focus on three things in life. First is academics, second is academics, and third is academics. This I'm talking when I was young at schools. And not to turn our head towards sports or theater or music or arts or any other forms, because I think largely our parents used to believe that the only thing which can feed us is academics, and rest all just mere uh, pastime and waste of time. I don't know what. And they used to feel that you can't do much good with life in those things. Of course, it's very wrong in perceptions, but I think that's how we are all grown up. Uh, I can just take few examples. Like, for example, somehow, somewhere in when I was young, I picked up this interest in theater, and especially I think until middle school, I was very much keen in pursuing plays, and I used to do a lot of in drama and all. But I was forced to stop to pursue that interest. Similarly, I was interested in learning the game as a cricket, and playing it, but unfortunately, I couldn't even pursue that, of course, due to the obvious reasons. So I'm not blaming anyone, or I don't regret that. I couldn't do what I want, or I did what I did till now. And at the same time, I'm not saying or suggesting that we should support only sports or only academics or art and music only. Rather, me and my partner, Mr. Sindhu Reddy, when we both have started the school, the Premia Academy in Hyderabad, one of the important aspect what we thought to was forms of these forms in academics or sports or art and music across all the streams, and let the kids try each and everything and explore what they want to pursue, most importantly along with their parents, in a very free willing self discovery mode. And we as a school, we will support them at each and every leg of this journey, and help the kids to achieve what they want to do or what they want to pursue, what is their passion and where they want to excel. I think this what is has been my learning in the last few years where I've been associated with schools, that school is actually a platform which should help both the kids and the parents to realize what the child want to do and what the child can excel at, so that they can put all their energies in supporting them. So I come from a background to believe that kids do benefit from both academics and sports. As I said, I'm not saying academic is bad and don't do it. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, like, um, they are linked to each other. They both can help each other. So there are many studies which presented that performing appropriate aerobic activities, the children has shown dramatic increase in brain development, a decrease in stress, promote concentration, and boost confidence, etc., etc. So sports in a way also help children to do well in academics, and we have many examples to say that there are a lot many engineers who are cricket players. There are a lot many engineers in soccer players. There are a lot many actors, the actors in theater, in plays, in cinema who actually done well in education also. But if you look at it in many schools across the world, sport is a secondary to academics, forcing children to choose between them and not wise. It's like it's not. I haven't seen any school say, okay, my first most important is sports, and then by the way, you also can choose academics. I think it's very rare. Might be as there are a couple of schools which I heard which are coming up now, which are largely based on sport, but I think that's not the normal, across the world. Although studying and being in the classroom is very important for young kids, but I think going outside and moving around is just as important as being within the four walls. And I think personally I've learned a lot, not just being in the classroom, but a larger portion of time to be outside the classroom, outside those four walls. There is so much of research there on how even minimal activity can boost brain function and enhance socialization. So basically, I think most of the sports getting downplayed because parents demand that they need, and teachers also need to show the academic results, because of every parent teacher meeting, I think we'll be forced to talk about what the child has done in academics, in physics, chemistry, math, and English and other language, but not no parent is ready to keen or to listen. Okay, what does my child do, or what did my child do separately, or in sports or not? I think both Jyothi ma'am and Shanti ma'am can vouch for what I'm saying, because I've been part of n number of parent teacher meetings all these years. I haven't seen single parent comments. No, okay, I don't want to listen about academics. That's fine, but you tell me what else my kid can do, what else my kid is capable to do. I don't think no parent will ask about it. So, which actually pushes the schools in turn to also downplay this, and as a result there is a lack of focus on developing children physical literacy. I think this is a new word, but I like this word, physical literacy. So with more kids staying indoors rather than playing outside, so what's happening with this, there is a rise of popular technology, so kids also choosing sedentary activities or physical activities. This also is very dangerous, and they actually miss out the benefits of sports. So uh, actually, one of the point on the agenda is what are the skills actually the children can develop by playing sports. So there are many. What I can just quickly remember or think of is social skills, ability to communicate, making friends. Um, few of the best buddies are always be used to play together, isn't it? I think that's how I think we become close to our friends and become buddies and pals eventually, isn't it? So, and also, under social skills, they also can learn the ability to work together, communicate non-verbally, etc. And of course, discipline. Today, while I think the most key important thing what a sport can teach to a child, to anyone, is being disciplined. It's just like behaving appropriate in different environments, demonstrating good sportsmanship, and being determined to achieve something, being committed. These are the good qualities of being disciplined, which one can learn from sports. And of course, respect. Today, I think we are trying to have a lot of sessions to teach kids on how to respect others, how to respect in the family. But simple, like ask them to start go and play. They learn how to respect other movements, how to respect others, how to respect speeds, how to respect coaches. These are all inbuilt that will come up when, as a kid, you start playing the sport. And of course, personal control, I think, which is very, very important, because today, I think, as rightly the Jugam said, or Shantimam said, what we need to teach kids is it's okay to fail. It's all not about winning. I think it's very normal to fail. I think this is something which definitely can't I can say definitely can't be taught in a just class environment. When you make them to play, they realize that yes, it's very normal to fail, and both winning and losing are equally important. It's okay. And of course they get ability to solve problems, ability to cope pressure, etc. So there are a lot of skills, like apart from the social and respect discipline skills, they also can get up the leadership skills, supporting the other players, taking responsibility in groups. So all this is will come up when you start playing. So then someone can say, okay, while any sport is good, why football, and why not anything else? Of course all sports have their advantages. They have their own things, both indoor and outdoor. They'll give kids transferable skills, helping them to multiple fields of physical development. But I feel football is arguably one of the most well-rounded sports when it comes to ticking off all the boxes like physical literacy, social development, and cognitive development, all the three. I'll just take few minutes to explain why I feel football is definitely much better game to get all these things. Physical literacy is all about developing fundamental physical skills in children. Basic skills like running, jumping, throwing, catching, kicking, and hundred and many more. So they all fit in a broad category of agility, balance, coordination, movement, and of course the speed building blocks. So these all basically the physical activity which comes under physical literacy. So football is a game definitely helps a lot in the physical literacy. As I said, running, jumping, it's just not running. It is all types because endurance running for long periods, sprinting, quick changes in speed. Especially, I don't know whether I think if you notice a football player, I think as a game, you need to have a full control of your body movement and of course running. You'll be changing your speeds at different levels. So I know someone asked me like how that feel that a player it's like an automatic gear. I don't know if someone has driven a vehicle with automatic gear system. It's like that the player has to move between different gears, different speed limits. So that's excellent. I think that's something which I think is possible largely in a football game. And of course jumping, dodging, hopping. I think these are all a lot of physical activities which is involved, and this actually helps a lot in the children to develop their spatial coordination, the reaction times, balancing themselves, of course the agility and all those things. And the most important aspect in the football is kicking the ball. And people will say, what's the big deal? You can kick it, right? So what you can learn from it, but there's a lot goes in kicking. No, it actually generates the strength in your legs and feet, and it also gains superior control on the lower limbs. Today, people do yoga and all those things, but while yoga has its own benefit, playing football and kicking itself is a huge physical activity by itself, and it's a full body movement. There are very few who know that kicking is just not a function of a leg or a toe or a heel. It's actually requires a full body movement right from head to toe. So that's a very, very well-rounded activity. So I don't want to take much time, but I love football, no doubt. While I said when I was young, I was very keen and very passionately playing cricket. But as football is also one of the sport which I like, and this is a when we actually started to set up a school. Me and Sindhu, first we thought about it's a football ground. Of course, we might not able to afford a full-fledged football ground, but my recommendation to any school is like whatever space you have. I think nowadays, thanks to the futsal or a five-a-side football which came into practice. So I think we should start setting up at least that mini football or a futsal ground in the school and encourage equally or more equally girls and boys both to play this game, because football is not a boys game or a girls game. It's for every child to play. So I think let us respect the game. Let us ensure that we create enough environment space and infrastructure to have a football ground or a futsal ground in the school, whatever we can afford, and let's encourage the sport. Thanks, Ramit, and thanks to Hyderabad Football Club for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kantheti. I think to all of you, really, because just the way that all of you have put across the relevance and importance of football in as being an integral part of an education system is something I'm sure that all the viewers here, and if you have students in the audience, it's music to their ears, right? To have educators and people from Mr. Miranda from UNESCO actually talking about exactly what they try and convince their parents, their friends, their family, their teachers, that it is, look, this is very important to me and my development. But there also lies the challenge, and Mr. Kantheti, you mentioned it briefly, that not everybody recognizes that, right? Today, again, there still seems to be that question mark between academics on one side and sports on the other side. So, and my question to all of you, and maybe we can start with Dr. Reddy on this, is how can we really try and increase this participation when you have, of course, the students on one side, you have the parents, you have the educators, all of them seem to either have similar agendas or different agendas and so on and so forth, different mind frames. All of them need to be combined and talk in a manner in which everyone recognizes, yes, football can do this, have the positive impact that Mr. Kantheti spoke about. And as an educator yourself, as a principal, what are the things that you could do, your institution could do, to actually help increase this participation and the benefits that can arrive therefrom?
So, as Mr. Subramanyam has mentioned, or Miss Shantipriya has mentioned, we educators are not saying that academics are to be given priority or sports are to be given priority. They are the part of the education. Sports is integral part of the education, that we all agree, right? So every person cannot become a doctor, and all cannot become doctors, all cannot become football players, or all cannot become singers, right? So as Mr. Subramanyam has mentioned, that identifying the talent is one thing, bringing out the hidden talent is one part, then understanding the interest of the child is the second part. If we are successful there, and if the parent support is there in this particular area, then schools come into the picture in terms of being flexible. See, like how South India is known for producing IIT toppers, or in that way. If I have to speak about Hyderabad, we do have many coaching institutes to crack IIT exams, or any other entrance examinations, or CAT examination, or civil services, or competitive examinations. But how many facilities are there in Hyderabad or in the country altogether to bring to see whether the child has the talent, to bring out the talent? As coaching centers are there, we are producing the results, then we are knowing that, okay, the child is capable of becoming an IITian, right? So in that way, if I have to identify, for example, if I have 1,000 students, if I have to identify the players, until and unless we give the opportunity for them, we can't bring out the hidden talent. We can't identify the talent. Once the talent is identified, then the parent support is very much important, right? So for that, school should be ready. First of all, they should be flexible. They should not just bargain in terms of giving games periods or academic periods. They should balance. For that, parents are support. If schools are expected to start after school sports hours, parents should support the schools in terms of providing transport facility, because everything cannot be taken up by the schools also, right? And if the child is interested in academics, let us push them, not exactly pushing, let them nurture them, let them support in academics. But if the child is interested in sports and having that talent, generally the orientation sessions are expected to be put it across. And until and unless we show perspectives in becoming sportsmen, parents will not be convinced. And when parents are not convinced, if the child is forcibly put in academics, then the child will not show interest in academics. So here I think schools play a major role. For example, if I have to go into specific examples of my own school, we do have some children who are particularly into sports. So for them, we do give attendance leverage. We are flexible. Okay, when the parent is ready to help the child or invest in child in terms of giving personal coaching, allowing the child at 10 o'clock or 10:30 should not be a problem. For that, for teachers, it will be an effort in terms of missing periods, how to balance and all that, or sending the worksheets, giving them extra periods. And attendance, when I said whatever the board expects, the minimum attendance, if the child meets that minimum attendance, that is enough. But if we are very rigid in terms of no gates close at 8:20 for sports people, or if they are taking extra coaching period, then I think where do those children go? We do have almost like 4 or 5 kids who come very late, and it depends on the game they have chosen. And the hours. Some might come regularly late, some might come. See, I gave a flexibility. Parent wanted to withdraw from the school because he said my child can come only twice a week, because that particular game needs many hours of practice, and that can happen only during the daytime. So we were convinced. I said, it's okay, fine. Why do you want to take a TC? We are okay with twice a week, but we will see balance. And we had a counseling session with the child saying that at least you see that you touch 50%. We do not want 80% or 90%. And especially in my previous experience, even the board going students were given flexibility. I don't know how many schools will be okay for this, but if schools are open to be flexible. And the second part is, if we can make parents understand that the sports have, see, some parents come with the questions that why are you having sports periods when it is examination time or assessment time. But if we can convince the parents that see, for example, if I have to take the typical football example, like how Mr. Subramanyam has mentioned, if I have to speak about football, all the qualities required for a CEO or a business tycoon or a civil servant or a doctor or an engineer are there in a football game. Yes, if I have to speak, there is a technique where ball control, dribbling skills, passing accuracy, body control are required. Football is a game with game intelligence, right? Spatial awareness, tactical knowledge, risk assessment, physical fitness, as he said, endurance, balance, coordination, speed, strength, power, and proper mindset. The compassion, composure, mental strength, right? Coachability, self-motivation, self-discipline. If I take these 4 parameters, body control, passing accuracy is very much. Passing accuracy could be being accurate, being accurate in taking decisions is required for any professional. Taking risk assessment is very much required for any professional. Physical fitness, see, in this, if I have to take the example of challenging times of pandemic, if you see those most of the people whose physical fitness is in place, whose immunities are high, whose nutritional values in the body composition are high, they are able to face the corona also. They are coming out easily than the people who are not physically fit. So physical fitness, all these things can happen through sports only, right? So lot of orientation sessions are required to convince the parents, okay, fine, till the child comes into 9th or 10th, let them expose them to various areas and then identify the talent. If the child is interested in sports, yes, the parents should support and the schools should support in being flexible, right? And second thing, what I feel is, schools cannot do everything. So schools should partner with academies like, for example, going forward, if I have to improve the soccer players, if I have to nurture soccer players, if I have to bring out soccer players from the Shriram Universal School, maybe we might look into the aspect of partnership with Hyderabad Football Club. But at the same time, football clubs should also be cost effective so that schools don't go back. So it is hand in hand. A single component or in the ecosystem, a single stakeholder cannot manage to make sports successful as how it happens in academic success, right? Whether it is about girl children also. Why should we have gender discrimination when it is coming to football or whatever? It is equality. Subramanyam sir has mentioned that, right? We do have Asha Lata. So how many of our students know, right? Aditi Chauhan, women football player. How many of our students know Bala Devi? So now in online classes, that is what we are doing. We are bringing the inspirational stories of our players. We are bringing the how sports men came out of their childhood sad stories. How did they tackle the challenges? How did they got into the habit of don't give up? How many of them have crossed obstacles despite having childhood sad stories, without parent support, without proper schooling? That is one aspect how we can motivate the children. We have to provide the platforms in schools to identify the talent. If the child is meant for becoming a doctor, I can't push him to become a soccer player. But if the child is for a soccer player, I can't make him a doctor, right? So for the first thing should happen in schools in identifying the talent and supporting the school, supporting the parents in terms of convincing them. Then coming to the point of the different level, the facilities in the country, and the what awareness. See, do you agree? I think definitely we all agree with the statement that there are people who take leaves to watch a cricket match. How many of us take leave, or how many people are there who take leave to watch a soccer match in India? The other day, I was going through the tweet of Sunil Chhetri. There was a on Twitter. There is a tweet by Sunil Chhetri, the football captain, in that particular year. He was literally, I can use the word beg instead of request, with your permission. He was requesting the audience to come. You come to the football match, you watch our play, then we are ready to take the praises. We are ready. You can shout at us, you can scream at us, you can use whatever words you need, but watch our game, then you make the comments. Why do you simply make the comments on the social media about there is nothing in Indian football team in terms of how we have craze about the Western football? Why do we watch only the when world football? Why don't we watch national football matches? So awareness in the so that craze of some sports, how it is for particular games, it has to be brought towards soccer, or whether it is hockey or basketball or whatever. So awareness, if you are passionate about a particular thing, if we have soccer players, I was surprised when I was going through Google to know about football history or to know about football players. There are wonderful stories in India about the football players. How many of us educators know about women football players? If I ask someone to, okay, can you please give 5 women football players? We really take a minute to put it across, right? So one is awareness, one is creating platforms in schools, being flexible, bringing out the hidden talent, partnership with external vendors, because schools cannot do anything, and lot of orientation sessions with the parents, right? And also the friendly matches. We do have a lot of cricket friendly matches amongst the schools, amongst the districts. Soccer, there are hardly any. Maybe going forward in Hyderabad Football Club might take it forward. But so one stakeholder cannot make any difference. Everything. Teamwork is the mantra in sports and games, right? So if that teamwork is not there, even the government, the facilities, I do not want to get into the politics in sports at the government level or in the associations level. Let us not touch that point. But we as educators in schools, our children are not yet polluted. We are supposed to identify the talent and nurture the talent. So for that, really we need support from parents and the external partners. Parents in terms of being okay if we say, hey, look, your child is playing soccer superb. Why don't you coach him? Your child is into athletics. Why don't you encourage him in athletics? If parents are okay with us, and then when I approach an academy, when I approach an athletic association, that we do have some children, can you be cost effective to come to the school, give some coaching? Why don't you, we should not make it too complex in terms of commercials. So that approach from academies, then educators get some spirit. See, educators who are having spirit to encourage sports, if our hands are tight, one side from parents, the other side from external partners, then we might end up in being handicapped. So it should be a win-win situation. But to make international players, to make our presence felt in soccer especially, I think a lot of teamwork is required at this juncture in Hyderabad. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Reddy. And I think the biggest takeaway that I have from all that you said is that it has to be a joint effort, and it has to be combined effort of everybody, all the stakeholders who are involved, to get this participation to become higher. And I'm fairly certain that Hyderabad FC, this being one of the first starts that they've got with the School Connect, they did a few engagements last year as well, and there'll be a lot more that they will be doing to try and help the ecosystem in Hyderabad make sure that football and education can actually become synonymous in a student's life. And and of what you said, I think we've got a comment on chat as well, where Fardeen Qureshi actually acknowledges this fact that, without the parents' support, coaches, however hard they may try to train a student, to make that student become a better player in whichever sport, especially in football, you realize that after they reach class 10th, the parents are not necessarily providing the support for the student to participate further. And that's where educators like yourselves and all of you need to come to the fore and then try and make it an easier decision for the parents. One of the other things that all of you had mentioned, and I do want to talk about that more, and maybe I can get Mr. Ramirez-Miranda on this. You all spoke about the girl child also, and that's been a theme that we've been talking about. And while we do say that increasing participation is something that all stakeholders need to take care of, we also need to take care of it across all the stakeholders who actually play as well, which is both boys and girls. So, and from everything that all of you have said, if Mr. Miranda, if I can have you just speak a bit more about this whole relevance of making sure that we get the girl child to be a part of all of these plans that we make, whatever Hyderabad FC does, whatever the schools are doing, and so on and so forth. So this is actually something that's also been asked by Devrat Rao on chat, where he also asks that how do we make sure that we keep looking at, when we say that we need to do this for students, we're including both boys and girls.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ramit. I am very happy to take the floor again. And of course, this is a very important issue. And as Dr. Jyothi was saying, we don't have many chances to discuss this, and that's why a lot of emotions are coming out. And I am sure this relates completely to your practice every day in the schools, when you are dealing with these tensions with the parents by seeing the children, their interest in sports, and this false dichotomy between academics and sports, because that is exactly what we need to tackle right now. Yes, there's a path in sports for some children. Some of them will be fantastic sports persons and have maybe a career on that, and that will continue to develop as the market expands in India, and as India continues on its way towards using sports as a powerful tool for development across society, in communities, etc. But in general, I think that at the school level, we need to keep the focus on what has already been shared by Dr. Jyothi, by Shanti ma'am, but by Subramanyam sir. It's very important to stop with the dichotomy, to focus on the transformative power of sports for personal development, and focusing on all of these outcomes. Yes, Subramanyam sir, what you were saying, all of these skills, but we also focus on and most of what you said are also most importantly the values, such as the respect, discipline, etc. And as it has also been said, from a holistic approach, if we really keep the focus on all of those outcomes that you have described, that will have an impact on maybe even the future doctor, the future lawyer, the future engineer, etc. I think that is the most important part of the conversation, where we should be focusing in the tension between academics, this again false dichotomy between academic and sports. In general, I think that when we promote this as part of holistic, integral education, and there's only two things that we need to that I want to keep my message focused on. Number one, in the context of the pandemic, we have seen that sports was definitely not prepared, just like many aspects in our societies. We were not prepared for this. And particularly sports needs to be prepared on how to address this type of disturbances, to deliver better, and to ensure that all of these outcomes are still present in a context such as this one. But the second thing, and this would create the virtuous circle of how to enhance sports into education as a way forward, we need to have a data-driven approach. It has been said, research is already showing something, but we need to be able to share with parents, with our administrators, with everyone related with the education ecosystem, with data, how this will have also an impact on academic performance and how overall health outcomes are also improved. And again, yes, football is an important tool, but like everything that comes with the training for football, because it's not only about like, yes, kicking the ball is extremely important and part of the equation, but this is also about overall strength, overall mobility, overall development of the attitude to respect the rules, to respect others, to develop discipline, again, all of these values. So I think that if we promote a data-driven approach to the health and academic outcomes that are related to this, we would have more tools for advocacy, more tools for addressing this holistic view that we need to promote to stop the dichotomy between academics and sports, because a holistic perspective is precisely that, an education that would be bringing both together. And on the individual level, and to respond to your question, of course, Ramit, the importance of addressing the dropout for girls in sports moving forward and as they continue to grow is extremely important, because as an empowerment tool across society and for the long and medium term, yes, the focus on girls is extremely important. But again, from a data-driven approach and how this can have a long-term impact on health and academic outcomes, and of course, in other societal outcomes such as like reduction of early marriage rate, and even in the long term, more representation even in political spaces and other leadership positions, as I shared also during my first intervention. So in that sense, that is also part of the holistic view that we need to have when we talk about sports in education. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Also, one of the things that has been asked on the chat group, and maybe Mrs. Shantipriya, you can come in for this one, is that a lot of times, in spite of knowing all these valuable lessons that can be learned from playing football, in spite of knowing what it can do in the whole education system and so on and so forth, sometimes schools also end up focusing on winning. And then that becomes a very important part of what the coaches are told when they go for competition, that you must win and come back. The students are told that, oh, you must come first. And that entire mind frame as well. Is that something that, there are always two sides to that, right? One is, of course, you have to build a winning mentality, and a winning mentality is also a part of your own personal development. But then the other side, of course, is the pressure that comes with that thought about that, oh, I must win. If I don't win, then how will I go back to my school, and how will I face up to my teachers, and so on and so forth. So, and this is a question that Captain Panth has put up also. So do you have some way of how you can actually address this entire bit about the winning mentality as well as the pressure that comes therefrom?
Yes, Ramit, to be very frank, as a principal, I've never told my children that you have to win and come. For me, it has always been a learning experience, which is very, very important. So I'm sure as the school leaders, if we emphasize on the learning experience rather than just being a winner, I think the myth of being a winner or the pressure of getting to be a winner will come down a little. Yes, all of us want our schools to win when we send them out for an inter-school or an intra-school event, whatsoever it is. But again, having said that, more than winning, the experience what you come up with is very important. And to encourage that, what we do is, once the children go in for an event and come back, the next day in the assembly, we ask them to share their experience, whether they have won or not. So the way they share their experience, that kind of becomes a motivation that, or they have learned so much, not just winning. So it is very important for us to inculcate that kind of environment over here. Very, very, very important actually. So yes, winning is important. There's no doubt about it. Having said that, people become winners when they have more of learning experience. So even when you go in for any kind of a job interview or anything like that, your experience does matter a lot. So same thing goes for a person to develop his or her personality. The experience what they get from learning is more important than just being a winner. ultimately it is always said the winner takes it all. True, because they have put in that much of, you know, time, energy into that sport or even an academic. So hence they have become a winner. So the one who has lost will always take away from them that the amount of effort put in by them, which is very, very important. So I would say for Captain Pun's answer is yes, school do encourage the students or the coaches that they should win and come, but schools also say that it's okay to learn and come back to. So as there is a lot of shift in the way people are thinking about things, as Jyothi ma'am rightly said earlier, parents do come approach us saying that my child will not be attending the session or the school or the classes for a couple of days because they're going in for sports classes. So I would always want to take it on a positive note. There is a shift in the thought process of people. Yes, maybe a little slow as it when compared to the academics, but yes, there is a lot of shift. And there are schools which emphasize more on sports than academics. May not be in Hyderabad, yes, of course, but in India also we do have schools which emphasize purely on sports. They give parallelly academics. So the major agenda of those schools is to give in sports. And when it comes to football, again, I would say that India has never been a country where football was encouraged to that particular core. So our emphasis was more on cricket. So we are more, fancy towards the cricket as a sport. Hence, football has never gained that kind of popularity, though we have a lot of students who still fancy for the football sport. So I would say that it is the ownership of the clubs, as ma'am said, it is not an individual stakeholder's responsibility to encourage or to do everything. It is a teamwork. So it is the ownership of the football clubs to create that kind of awareness, to give that kind of support to the schools, where we can say that yes, we can take this up as a sport. Then second thing is now sports have picked up a lot of publicity. The brand ambassadors of any kind of be it a cosmetic product, be it a sports garment, be it anything, you have these sports celebrities who are there partnering with them to encourage sports more into the ecosystem of education. Keeping that in mind, parents have also gone taken a fancy towards sports. Now again, as Mr. Subramanyam sir said, when there is a PTM or an open house, parents do come and ask about academics. But there are a couple of parents who do come and check about sports too. So I would say that yes, there is a change in the system where sports is given importance. Maybe gradually that will take the forefront too. By and by, we will never know when the shift would come into. Keeping with this positive thought, let school work together to encourage sports. I would say that not just for winning, but as a learning experience. Because when we say a sport, we talk about life skills. As Subbu sir lightly said, it inculcates so many skills into the student. So when it is inculcating so many life skills, so winning and losing is just part of the game. So learning those skills is what is very, very important. So if we can harp and we can motivate, we can talk about those skills which are imbibed, I'm sure the myth of winning will come down a little bit. Thank you so much, Ramit. I'm sure I think I've answered Mr. Pant's question.
No, no.
I would like to add one thing here to the same question. What I feel is generally in schools or the parents or even the principals, teachers, and all, most of the times we share success stories for them to inspire, right? So, if we put an effort consciously to share the failure stories from where that failure has become a success, that changes the attitude. And definitely, as educators, we have to walk the talk. Maybe that is a question of one of the coach that they are forced to listen only to the winning stories. It is not the same with all the schools. Maybe it is a bitter experience, but they should not get disheartened by one or two bitter experiences. That's one thing. And we have to set role model. We have to become role models or set examples. For example, you have to share this. This is very particular in this context. That's why I have pitched it. In one of our inter-school festival, actually, my means our students have won the winner trophy. So what I did is I just told them, "Are you all with me or not?" Then my children told that they are with me. So what we did is taking their permission. I simply didn't push my decision also, because children don't like when we take decisions without their intervention when the issue is about them. So I took their permission, and we have given the winner trophy to the runner school, saying that we are the host schools, so we can't take the winning trophy. And my children, I told that for you, winning trophy is having lunch with me in my cabin. Till date, they are not forgetting that experience. And with that, maybe the audience, maybe we could have had so many teachers of other schools, so many children of other schools, my own children of 1,000 members, right? For that must have set an example that, okay, failure or winning is not the ball game altogether. That is one aspect about that particular question. Second aspect, what though it is not pointed towards me, but I would like to put it across. Until and unless we show career perspectives in sports field, parents will not come forward to support children. I feel sorry for the kids who are really talented, but when they drop, see in the chat box, I could see one statement from one of the coaches that he has put in lot of efforts on a child and he's excellent, but after 12th, the child had to take a U-turn and get into the studies, but drop the game. So that will happen. See, most of the times people also, as Shantipriya ma'am said, things have changed. There is a brighter side. However, consciously we have to put in some efforts to get the same weightage as academics. You have to show the career. We have to show the career perspective. So until and unless sports people come into the schools and have guest lectures, we have MBA in sports also. It's not that always you become a famous international player or represent your country or your state, but what are the career perspectives in sports? That has to be put it across. So parents should also see some lucrative career in sports, because every parent don't want to kill the dreams of the children. They want safe and secured life for their children, right? So if we show that, okay, if I fail, if your child fail as a sports person, becoming a national or international player, but still he can come up in the life, these are the career perspectives. He can become a coach, he can take up any see endorsement when they are earning money, right? If they become famous players, coaches are there. What are the career perspectives is big, means lot of knowledge is not there in parents. So a lot of orientation sessions should be conducted in schools, exclusively focusing on career perspectives. Maybe many principals also don't know the lateral side of the sports career perspective. That is one more area where you have to concentrate as professionals to bring in that change in the society. Youth should see some prospects. If they want to take up, they should not think that if I don't reach district level or state level, neither I am here nor there. That attitude should change in the students, that should change in the parents. So that can happen only through sports professionals by bringing in those orientation sessions also. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy. What you just said about showing everyone the visibility of the prospects that sports can bring about. I think that's perhaps one place where now that Hyderabad has its very own ISL club with Hyderabad FC, just the access to your very own club, which students can look up to, the local heroes that now become a part of that club. The international stars that are going to come into the city because of the club now, the kind of coaching that you had mentioned earlier as well, that can now be provided in schools because of collaboration with Hyderabad FC. And the opportunities as well, because with any professional club coming into a city, there are of course job opportunities that get created. And it's not just with respect to the players, it's also in the media sector. So there are those students who may enjoy the sport but cannot then get into the marketing side of things, the social media side of things, operation side of things. So many other opportunities come about. So maybe I'd like to bring Mr. Kantheti back into this, right? And just your thoughts on how the entry of Hyderabad FC into the city of Hyderabad can be something that educators, schools, students, parents can all get excited about, and utilize those local heroes and prospects to try and promote the beautiful sport and beautiful game of football even more.
So yeah, thanks, Ramit. Thanks for the thing. So I feel that it's a very, very important step forward for Hyderabad to have its own, FC football club. This will help in many ways. To start with, I think we can catch the people like with the catch. We can catch the students, young. So whoever is interested towards a place, or we can actually develop the interest in children towards this sport. One, because it requires a huge patronage, because as someone said, as I think we are a country like we've been patronizing too much of a cricket and not other games. So I think we should definitely this move will help the kids in Hyderabad to understand the game, learn the game, and start patronizing it and promoting it. Two, I think from a school side, I think we are definitely inclined to work along with the Hyderabad Football Club to promote it. Might be from a school side, we can provide the required infrastructure, required facilities for the game. But end of the day, we are not experts, right? We are not the experts in this. I think a football club can bring those expertise to the schools and bring those players, bring those what you call strategies and events to the school. This will help not only the students of our school. Might be I think a school is actually a platform, right? I always feel school is a platform. It's not just only for the students of our school, but also to the kids in the entire neighborhood, irrespective of whether they are from our school or not. I think having a football club in a school should help most of the kids in the neighborhood to be part of the culture. So one, definitely, I think we would like to encourage schools to create a football club within itself, which also can encourage children, younger ones coming from the neighborhood to come and play post school hours or preschool hours. And I think currently in the current situation, definitely it's very difficult to go and play, or even let us see, even if schools are allowed to start functioning, might be, let us say, I don't know, my guess is Jan or next April for next session, whenever it is. We can actually catch up with the game a lot. But before that, we can do a lot of things. Might be, I think I suggest HFC to create a web platform and conduct sessions, web sessions with interaction with the players, with their team players. You can have chat sessions of analyzing previous games, what different matches, what happened, what went through these games, how the teams are played. Of course, we can have chat sessions on game strategies. So I think it's like, I'm not saying a theory part or a GAN part of it, but this will actually engage the kids. Today, while if, as a school, we are not supposed to open a school because of the pandemic, but we as educators are trying each and every piece and bit to just keep the children engaged. As someone rightly said, nothing lost, if just 1 year goes without doing anything, but that's fine, that's absolutely fine. So we are also not expecting that we will by conducting online classes, the intent is not to just rush to the entire curriculum, give the entire complete syllabus. That's not the approach, I guess. I think both Jyothi ma'am and Shanti ma'am will agree. It's just to keep them engaged. It's just to keep them engaged and give them the tidbits on how to move on with the piece, because the child also should not feel because they don't have anything, and they should not get bored and depressed and into go into that. So similarly, I think HFC also can do a lot with this HFC School Connect by conducting these sessions. So we can what called bring the students and parents to these sessions and let them know, let the players, because HFC can afford to get local heroes as well as international players who are on their board to interact with the students, interact with parents, and give their piece of advices. That will help a lot. And of course, I think we can do physical exercise. They also can do a little bit of physical exercises. They can help students to do physical exercise within the indoors until we prepare for the go and out play. So I think once the schools are open, allowed to open, also even in whenever we could open, either in Jan or April of next year, So we can go in a very, very blended approach. Like we can still have this online session as well as offline, because it's going to have some more time before we go and become normal. And I don't know ever we'll able to become normal, but as I think we will be there, might be in next 6 months to 9 months, whenever it is. But before that, we can actually prepare the schools in Hyderabad, the children in Hyderabad, to follow the game and start patronizing, at least even on online, before we go offline. I feel that will help a lot for both schools and as well as HFC.
Yeah, and I'm fairly certain that Hyderabad FC will also do whatever it can with all of these wonderful suggestions to see how else can they connect with again, the educators, the students, the parents, absolutely everyone. So we are well over the 1 hour mark. I think this is such an engaging discussion that at least I didn't get to get a hold of time at all during this conversation. But so finally, just if all of you had to just give one message each to the audience, including whether it's students or it's the educators or parents, but literally in one line each, what would your message be to them about football, about education? We can perhaps just go again in the same orders that we started, and thereafter we will conclude the session. So if maybe Dr. Reddy, we can have you first with your final comments, and then everyone can just one by one just give the final comments.
I have spoken a lot, giving my views across the topic. However, my message to the audience, whether it is students or teachers or general audience viewers, my message is, in challenging times also, don't look for opportunities. You create opportunities. Challenging times, whether it is now or in future in life, without challenging times, without challenges, without risk, there is no life. Actually, the potential of an individual comes out only during the time of his or her challenging period, or when they are supposed to take risks. So don't look for opportunities, create opportunities irrespective of your environment, and have the passion to create memories for lifetime by living in every moment. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Mrs. Shantipriya?
Maybe I would say to the parents and the children, because we are purely talking about sports now. Each child is very unique and they have their innate abilities which we need to nurture. So let's not get focused only for the academics. I'm sure now sports is gaining so much of importance and there is a lot of scope for sports. Let's encourage our children to take up diverse professions, not just the monotonous, being an engineer and a doctor. So it would be an humble request to all the parents that you are the person who has to take the first call and support your child. And we as educators are always there to help you. So this would be my message to all the viewers who are watching us. Thank you so much, Ramit.
Thank you so much. Mr. Ramirez-Miranda, your final words, final message to the audience.
Thank you, Ramit. I'll keep it very, very short. I mean, we have seen in this world of today that health is one of the most important things and one of our most valuable assets as individuals and as societies. And indeed, we need to continue promoting sports, football, and the link between sports and education, because it can be a powerful tool to enhance our health and also to create the leaders of tomorrow that will be key actors in building a more resilient, stronger, peaceful, and sustainable society. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for that. Finally, Mr. Kantheti, your final words from you before we end the session.
Yeah, according to me, life is a sport or a game. Just enjoy it and just play it. That's it.
With those words, I think fantastic words. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. To everyone who's been tuned in and watching as well. To all our guests, thank you so much. And we really hope that everyone will tune in again next Sunday at 4 p.m. when we move on to the next part of HFC School Connect. And we'll be discussing about how institutions can help prepare for the reopening of sporting activities, whenever that is, because that's the hope that all of us have. Till then, thank you so much. Have a lovely rest of the Sunday to everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.